groups has watched events unfolding in Nigeria since the conclusion of the February 25 elections and emergence of a president-elect and members to form the 10th National Assembly. CNG has particularly monitored the regional agitations and permutations regarding the top positions in the National Assembly, especially the offices of the Senate President, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and their deputies. We note with utter perplexity and concern the desperation by certain interest groups in the ruling All Progressives Congress to impose as President of the Senate, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, one of the several candidates from one of the several geopolitical zones in the country, to the detriment of other sections, other aspirants, and of course democracy itself. This desperate group is as well working to impose a preferred candidate as House Speaker in total disregard for democratic ethics and constitutionalism. The CNG also notes the involvement of such northern collaborators as Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State and Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano in this diabolic scheme that potentially threatens to pitch the president-elect against other sections of the country, in particular the north, from where he extracted the bulk of his winning votes. We note that this damaging attempt at producing the next National Assembly leadership through an endorsement process that had turned all accepted indices of our national demography on their heads is one that was clearly aimed at achieving dubious political goals. One clearly designed to stain the clean democratic credentials of the incoming president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and weaken the political potentiality of northern Nigeria. Our observations: as the representatives of various interest groups from northern Nigeria, and having watched and studied these events carefully with considerable restraint and neutrality, the CNG, not one to lower the bar where the interests of the North, the unity of Nigeria, or the promotion of democratic values and ideals are involved, hereby arrives at the following inevitable observations. 1. That it is ridiculous, contradictory, and shameful for the APC, which stoutly resisted the temptation to limit the contest for the presidential ticket to Zodin and opted for democratic primaries, should now confine the democratic space for the selection of the Senate leadership. Number 2, that it is unreasonable and irresponsible for the party to suggest that a set of eminent personalities carefully elected by their respective constituencies as senators and representatives in the federal legislature cannot democratically elect leaders for themselves. Number 3, that as a thoroughbred Democrat with untainted record of commitment to the sustenance of democratic ideals and principles, the president-elect is not and will never deliberately be part of this sinister, undemocratic, and unconstitutional plot to subvert popular will and hoist a leadership on the second most important organ of government. Number 4, that the use of Asiwaju's name is part of a wider agenda by internal political enemies to diminish his populist tendencies and set the stage for conflict with other sections of the country that are clearly deprived by the arrangement. Number 5, that this conspiracy to tamper with the National Assembly leadership selection process that clearly puts the North at disadvantage is actively perpetrated with the connivance of some individuals from the region and accommodated by the personal ambition and greed of some of those that present themselves as northern political leaders. Number 6, that the suspicious involvement of El-Rufai, who has lost all the 3 Senate seats from his state to the opposition, and Ganduje, who lost 2 and barely managed to hold on to 1, is a sign of desperation for personal political ascendancy at the expense of our hard-earned democracy. Number 7, that overall, The APC has